Welcome back to Inside School, where we, pull back the curtain on community building. And today we're actually going to be looking at something really interesting, a real shift we've been seeing right here within the Skool platform itself. It all started with the recent conversation, and I think it's really made us rethink a few things.
Yeah, I think that's right. We've spent a lot of time trying to really understand what makes online communities work, what makes them tick. And this particular conversation really helped us see a key change in how we think about value and contribution in these spaces.
I think that's a great way to put it. For a long time, the online world has really emphasized the individual, building that personal brand, being the expert that everyone looks to. But I think what we're seeing more and more is the power of actually working together as a team.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big shift away from that single spotlight and towards, recognizing how powerful a network of contributors can be. And I think that's what we're going to try to unpack today, this evolving view of community building in school and see what it means for you, whether you're leading a community or just taking part in one.
Come on inside, we're so glad you're here. Come on inside to Inside School.
Yeah, so let's really dig into this whole me to we idea. I think the heart of it is that maybe focusing only on your own persona isn't the best way anymore, and we need to start thinking more collaboratively, focusing more on being a valuable part of a team.
What's really interesting to me is this growing idea that you don't have to be the leader or the loudest voice to make a difference. Actually, this conversation really highlighted how important it is to just support a shared goal, to be someone who consistently pushes things forward. I think we're finding that feeling good about contributing to something bigger often outweighs the temporary satisfaction of individual recognition, and that leads to more genuine involvement and better contributions in the long run.
That's a really good point. It kind of takes the pressure off everyone to always be in the spotlight. So if you're listening, think about it. How could this perspective change how you're involved in online communities? Are you always trying to be the leader? Or could you maybe find more satisfaction and actually make a bigger impact by focusing on being a really great team player?
That brings up an important point about what we mean by player in this context. The conversation we're talking about had a really insightful way of looking at this, asking yourself, what kind of player would you be in a game? Now, this isn't about pretending to be someone you're not.
Right. It's not about putting on an act. It's more about understanding your strengths, your natural tendencies when you're working with others. How do you typically work within a team?
Exactly. And to really bring this to life, they used a really helpful analogy. They looked at different business roles through this player lens. So you have a Lautsprecher, which is German for loudspeaker. You can kind of see that as marketing, getting the word out. Then you have the Vermittler, the mediator or connector, a lot like sales, bringing people together. And finally, the Macher im Hintergrund, which means the behind-the-scenes doer representing delivery, the people who make it all happen.
I really like that breakdown because it shows how every role is important for success, and it makes you think about your own tendencies. Are you the one who's always promoting ideas? Are you great at connecting people? Or are you the one who gets things done behind the scenes? Recognizing your natural player role can be really helpful.
And what I think is great about this framework is that it helps us see that contributing to a community isn't just about what you can see the Macher im Hintergrund. The quiet work they do is what lets the Lautsprecher speak and the Vermittler connect.
Yeah.
So if we apply this to community building, it means a thriving community needs more than just loudspeakers. You need a whole team of different players, each bringing their own strengths. And that leads us to think about what really makes these communities last.
And that brings us to this idea of a new kind of value loyalty, maybe even becoming more important than the usual focus on funnels. The conversation we're looking at really critique communities that are built mainly as sales funnels, where the goal is always just to convert people.
I think it's really interesting how much emphasis there is now on building real connections and lasting relationships between members. The idea is that a true community isn't just about transactions, it's about relationships. And this change in focus really affects how we recognize and reward value within the community.
Yeah, instead of just focusing on performance, like who's bringing in the most leads or closing the most deals, the focus is shifting to loyalty. How deeply involved someone is, how consistently they support the community, their long-term commitment. Think about things like affiliate structures and reward systems that are designed to show appreciation for strong relationships in the community. not just individual output. It's about creating a real sense of shared purpose and mutual appreciation. So, like, practically speaking, how could a community on Skool actually put this shift towards rewarding loyalty into action? Are there specific features in Skool that can help with this beyond just the standard affiliate links?
That's a great question. And while those direct affiliate links definitely have their place, there are other Skool features that can really help foster
Yeah.
loyalty. Things like those private groups or, badges for members who have been around a while or are really active, maybe give them exclusive content or early access to new features based on how long they've been a member and how much they've contributed. It's all about showing that you value more than just direct sales.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about making people feel like they belong and showing them you appreciate their commitment in the long run. So this is a question for you think about the online communities that you're a part of. Are they built on real connections and support? Or do they feel more like they're just trying to sell you something? Understanding what's really motivating a community can really change how you experience it.
Now, all of this evolution towards team dynamics and real loyalty is happening while the Skool platform itself is growing. And changing the conversation we were looking at, talked about this idea of Skool being at a really important point, a chasm based on the law of diffusion. Can you explain what that means in this context?
Okay, so the idea is that Skool, after attracting those early enthusiastic users, is now trying to reach a much bigger audience. And the conversation pointed out that this shift can sometimes feel a little bit, uncertain.
Absolutely. The law of diffusion basically describes how new ideas and technologies become accepted by people over time. It usually starts with innovators and early adopters, those who are really excited to try new things. The chasm is that often difficult gap between those early adopters and the early majority, a much larger and more diverse group of people who might have different needs and expectations.
So as Skool grows and changes to fit a wider range of users, the conversation suggested that this can sometimes make those early adopters feel like they're losing control or even feeling uncomfortable because they were used to things being a certain way.
Exactly. As a platform gets bigger, there will be changes, new features, shifts in focus, and these might feel disruptive or even like they're going against the original vision for those who were there from the start. It's just a natural part of growth, but it can definitely create uncertainty and even a sense of vulnerability for some users.
So in navigating this chasm phase, what were the key insights from the conversation for individuals and community builders on Skool?
The conversation really emphasized how important it is to stay confident in your own vision, to be resilient when the platform changes, and to stay committed to the core community you're building or participating in, even as the platform evolves. The fundamental principles of teamwork, genuine connection, and shared values become even more important. But, isn't some level of churn inevitable when a platform grows? How do you tell the difference between natural evolution and changes that actually damage the trust of those early adopters?
That's a really crucial question, and the conversation suggested that open communication and transparency from both the platform and community leaders are key when changes happen. Explaining why they're being made and really listening to user feedback can help bridge that gap and maintain trust. It's about acknowledging that things need to evolve while still staying true to the core values that attracted the community in the first place.
Right, and it all comes back to that idea of loyalty. If a community is built on strong relationships and a shared purpose, it's more likely to withstand the changes that the platform goes through.
That makes a lot of sense. So how do we actually put this team-oriented approach into action? What are some real practical steps for building these collaborative communities, especially as Skool keeps changing?
The conversation had some great practical advice. One key thing is to actively share roles and responsibilities within your community. You don't have to and probably shouldn't try to do everything yourself. Find members who have different strengths and are willing to contribute in different ways. Think about using Skool's group features to create dedicated teams for specific projects.
So it's about finding those natural players within your community and giving them opportunities to contribute in ways that match their strengths.
Exactly, and that includes delegating tasks, even small ones like moderating discussions, welcoming new members, or organizing those virtual meetups using Skool's event features. Get your community members involved in decision-making where it's appropriate, maybe through polls or feedback channels within your Skool group. This helps them feel more ownership and a stronger sense of shared purpose.
And I imagine that also helps fight against that feeling of just being a sales funnel. When people feel like they're actively shaping the community and helping it grow, it changes from just a place for transactions to something much more meaningful.
Exactly. The goal is to focus on building a real community, a space where people feel like they belong, where they can connect with others in a meaningful way. learn and grow together. The sales part can then happen naturally because of that strong foundation of community and loyalty instead of being the main driving force.
So for those of you listening, take a minute to think about your own communities. Where could you start sharing roles? What responsibilities could you delegate to active members? How could you get your community more involved in creating the experience together? These little changes in approach can have a big impact on how vibrant and long-lasting your community is, especially as Skool continues to change.
Absolutely. These practical steps can help you build a more resilient and engaged community that can better handle the changes that come with the platform's growth.
So bringing it all together, the key takeaway from our look at this insightful conversation is the growing importance of shifting from that individual-centric approach to a more collaborative, team-oriented mindset in online communities, and especially within Skool.
We've seen how crucial it is to recognize and value the different roles and contributions that members make beyond just traditional leadership building communities that are based on real loyalty and trust, not just sales funnels, creates a more sustainable and ultimately more rewarding experience for everyone.
And as Skool continues to grow and adapt, embracing this team player mentality, both as community leaders and active participants, becomes even more important.
And that leads us to a final thought for you to think about. Consider how powerful collective action can be. How can actively embracing a team player mindset, both in the communities you lead and the ones you're a part of, lead to stronger, more resilient, and ultimately more enriching experiences for everyone? Think about your own unique role and how you can contribute to building something truly significant, something bigger than yourself.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time on Inside Skool.